that it's already June 17th. Half the year is already gone. We're about to embark on the summer solace. The weather's good. I actually ordered new glasses and I wanted to wear them today to debut my new glasses, but I got home late last night because I was working hard, and I didn't pick them up. So new glasses coming up next week. I hope everybody's in a good mood. I want to touch base on some subjects, not touch base, I want to talk about asylum today. Well, we're obviously not going to cover the entire asylum. I talked a little bit about affirmative asylum filing a few weeks ago, and recently we received updates from New York, New Jersey Asylum Office. So this used to be a practice more common under the previous administration, and then it obviously came to a standstill under the Trump administration. But the representatives from the asylum office will often meet with the members of the bar, lawyers, through what's called a stakeholder liaison meeting, and we, the lawyers, get to ask questions about like processing of asylum cases and stuff like that. So I have the minutes here with me. I actually have been getting a lot of asylum questions as recently as yesterday. So I just wanted to give you like a little overview of what we have discovered. So as I told you before, when a person comes in into United States, whether he crosses the border or presents himself at a port of entry, or flies in with a tourist visa or some sort of other visa and then applies for asylum, his case gets filed with an asylum office, and then the person awaits the interview. The predominant, through the history of asylum, the predominant way was once you file your asylum application, you get on a queue, get online, just like at a store. And then when your line moves up, you get called for an interview. This was changed under the Trump administration in order to, let's just say their asylum priorities were different, right? So they did what's called LIFO, last in, first out. So starting with 2017, basically the priority of the asylum office changed, and they wanted to, 2018. And they started interviewing cases. The latest cases they came in, they started interviewing them first, which created then even a bigger backlog, because all of the cases that have been pending since 2015 and 16 just kind of became frozen in time because nobody was touching them. So what it created basically a backlog. So the backlog nationwide of asylum cases is 398 unprocessed asylum cases. So there's a line of 398,000 cases. In New York, there are 46,000 unprocessed asylum cases. In New Jersey, there are 25,000 unprocessed asylum cases. The oldest case in New York is September 2015. The oldest case in New Jersey is 2014, 4 cases that were transferred to Jersey from other jurisdictions, and September or October 2015 for cases that originated and were originally with the New Jersey Asylum Office. That's significant considering that we had a pandemic and the office was locked down for half a year, and that because of social distancing rules and not infrequent closures due to the pandemic, obviously the backlog was even more because the cases keep coming in and you're interviewing less people. So New York is interviewing about 31 people a day, give or take, and New Jersey about 2 cases, and Manhattan York is interviewing the most amount of cases every single day. This is asylum, affirmative asylum only. We're not talking people who are in removal proceedings. We're talking about affirmative asylum only. So the three priorities and how they're scheduling the interviews. One is cases that have previously been rescheduled due to closures, due to an applicant getting COVID, due to requests, due to medical reasons. So cases, the rescheduling of the cases is a priority number one. Second priority is cases that have been filed within the last 100 days. So that is the last in, first out policy, right? And then the third priority is cases that have been filed over 100 days ago, which obviously have issues. We have in the past, due to various reasons, requested withdrawals of asylum applications, and we actually did fairly quickly get a response from the asylum office. This was in New York, saying yes, we acknowledge the withdrawal of the case. We did get a request pretty fast. So next question, how many cases does New York and New Jersey have which are pending adjudication longer than 3 months post-interview? So that means you have gone to the interview, you did the interview. Usually you get within 2 weeks a decision. You can pick it up or it gets mailed to you, but that's usually what happens. New York has 500 cases that are pending that are pending post-interview, right? That the decisions haven't been made on, and 400 of those cases have been pending for more than 3 months. For asylum office is not regular course of business. That pretty much they do a turnover pretty fast, right? So that's for the statistics for New Jersey. Usually Jersey, about 6 to 8 weeks because of COVID. That's the turnaround for decisions on the cases where the interview has been completed. Now, they there haven't been changes, obviously, with the Biden administration to a lot of the immigration procedures and the way things are being handled. And there's new stuff coming out every day, which I'm gonna talk about next. So when the Biden administration took over, they basically came out and said that we will be looking at all the regulations, all the cases, all the litigation pending, and we will be assessing and prioritizing what we think needs to be dealt with first, what can wait, and how to best split the resources, right? There's a finite amount of resources, how to best split it between the two of them. They are slowly, sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, releasing new regulation that has sometimes to do with asylum, then priority and stuff like that. There is a large group of people working on it, looking at all the things that are pending. Most of it is from the Trump administration, but some of it, of course, is, pre-Trump and things that they think make sense or don't make sense. So these things are going to be coming out, and as I've been telling you guys, this is a progression. It's not like, I warned everybody, it's not like they're gonna come in and be like, cancel the last 4 years, this is what we're doing. No, there's rhyme and reason to it. There's a slow and steady progression of things. So with that being said, one of the big news came out yesterday from UIR. I'm going to try to explain it in the simplest terms possible because nobody really needs the complications. So when you apply for asylum, you can apply for based on race, religion, nationality, religion, particular social group. Now, particular social group, that designation is the one that involves usually the most litigation and the most writing, because particular social group has a big caseload behind it. We as an attorneys have to define how you fit into a particular social group, and we have to name one or several particular social groups that you are a member of. Family, right? Being a member of a family has historically been a social group, right? Because what is more fundamental than a family? It's a social unit. But under the Trump administration, that was changed, and you could no longer apply on asylum based on persecution that you suffered because you were a member of a particular, or a member of a family. Another thing that went away was a case where Sessions, former Attorney General, said that women, or men in certain cases, who have suffered domestic violence in their own homes cannot come to the United States essentially and seek asylum because we cannot protect the entire world. Prior to this decision, women who have suffered sometimes horrendous, and we've represented many women, domestic violence, and who have attempted to go to the police and to complain, can come to US and say that I cannot go back, I've been persecuted, and the country where I live, the police, the municipality, aren't able or unwilling to protect me from the harm, right? And that kind of essentially went away under the Trump administration. And now, and the last one, of course, is gang violence, right? Which is a very big base for asylum seekers in United States. Again, that doesn't mean that anybody who's generally afraid of general violence in generally the entire country can just come seek asylum, boom, you got asylum. No, it's a lot more intricate than that. There are definitely analysis of details in your background, your childhood, the particular harm that you're afraid of or you're threatened with comes into play. So none of this is, goes to any individual case. Every individual case, as I always say, is very different. But those three things, being a family member, being victim of domestic violence, and gang violence, we have just, in plain words, returned to pre-Trump handling of those cases. So although there may be changes coming in jurisprudence in the future, right now those cases have gotten some life in them back, some life in them again. So just because you're a victim of domestic violence, if that's all that there is to it, you can seek asylum if you're otherwise eligible. That just actually came out yesterday, and that actually touches on our pretty big broad of clientele that we have, and that was those three decisions were very paralyzing for immigration attorneys, right? So another thing I wanted to tell you about. So remember I was talking about work authorizations. Only has to do asylum. This whole video just has to do with asylum. So under the Trump administration, the regulations have been changed when it comes to work authorization for asylum seekers in many different ways. One was that you had to wait a year before you can seek, even be eligible for work authorization. That is still in play. That has not been reversed, except in limited circumstances where the person is a member of two groups that have successfully sued the Trump administration and had reached a settlement, right? If you want to know what those groups are and how to get that membership, contact us. We will let you know. Another thing is that if you have been apprehended at the border or you presented yourself and your case was pending, let's say, down in Texas, and then you moved to be with your family up in New York or any other country, and you filed what's called a change of venue, which means you've asked the court to transfer your case from, let's say, El Paso, Texas to New York under the Trump administration. By asking the court to transfer your case from one court to the other, you have caused a delay in your case, and you are permanently suspended your work authorization clock. So basically, you are not eligible for work authorization up until your proceedings successfully are resolved. Big blow to a lot of our asylum seekers, depending who you talk to. Some people, agree with parts of it, disagree with parts of it. Like, some people believe that if you have presented yourself at the border and you said, I am here to seek asylum, and you were processed, you were interviewed, and then you were let out, essentially, on the territory of the United States, you should not be in the same situation as somebody who has crossed the border, not at a point of entry, through the desert, through, other points where they're not designated as legal entry points. And then you have come in and then filed for asylum. You're essentially in the same boat, right? If you have then applied for asylum, like it changed your venue from El Paso, let's say Texas, to New York, you're essentially in the same boat. People disagree in the handling of those situations, or how things are handled for people who were apprehended at the border, right? People who presented themselves at the border, or people who have crossed the border and weren't apprehended and successfully made their way up north or middle America or east or west, or wherever their journey took them. Right now, for the purposes of work authorization, it matters how you entered. It matters when you applied. It matters where your original case was and whether you changed venue. I do strongly believe that the changes to that are coming, because that just seems to be in step with the rest of what the Biden administration is doing, and it just doesn't seem, I don't know that the old rules are going to be reversed or made more liberal or partially reversed or amended in some sort, but I do think that the change is coming. I can't predict how soon. It could be next week, it could be September, it could be July, we'll see. But right now, there are people who are in circumstances where their clock for the purposes of work authorization has been stopped and cannot be restarted at this point, right? So those people will have to be waiting for the resolution or change of regulations, or some sort of new case law to come out, or somebody to sue and a judge to put a stop to enforcement of those rules, which was basically a regular MO under the Trump administration. They would come up with something, and then nonprofit organizations would just sue them, and then the judge would issue a preliminary injunction, would just prevent the execution of that rule while the case is pending, right? And then in certain cases Trump won, in certain cases the nonprofits or the bar won. In some cases they came to a settlement that was kind of in between. So this is what we have in terms of asylum. I will talk next week. I know I was going to talk about defense of asylum filing in removal proceedings, and I will continue talking about removal proceedings, but I just wanted to make sure that I covered these news as they come out, right? As always, please text me or call me if you want to know more about, if your loved one is stuck overseas, why they're not getting an interview, or if your loved one has been apprehended at the border, what the priorities are, how they're releasing people, bonds and stuff like that. If you have any of those questions, call us, text us, we're here. Easiest way, of course, is calling us 212-840-0050. You can also text that number. You can message us through the website, cohentuckerlaw.com. And we will hopefully give you all the answers you're looking for. Thank you for everybody who joined and who's going to be watching going forward. Of course, we now have a YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and you just put in Cohen and Tucker PC, we will come out and you can see all the videos that we have done so far. I want to thank you for staying with us, putting your faith and your trust in us. We do work hard and we improve all the time. We improve communications, we improve and train staff, and we want to make sure that you are comfortable and happy, and we reach the best resolution of your case that is possible under the current law. So I will see you in a week in my new glasses. Everybody enjoy the weekend, enjoy the week, enjoy the weather, and I will see you soon.